He is a very popular speaker on the crop circle circuit. He's circling everywhere, here and in Europe. And today, with all that knowledge, he's going to actually come and talk to us about the hidden ancient mysteries. In fact, not quite so hidden anymore, but certainly still ancient, and what we can draw from them, and how they can act as a mirror to ourselves to help us move forward and evolve and transform, which we all know we need to do now. So, Bert, no longer waiting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great honor to be back here. And it's also a great honor to be so late in the afternoon and still so many people here. Because after a whole day listening to everybody, I thought there will be nobody in the hall anymore. But still, you're there. So I'm going to take you to all kinds of places today. And the first place I want to take you to is to Mexico. I was invited to give a lecture in Mexico earlier this year. And while I was there, I took an amazing picture. And I want to share this picture with you. It's one of the most amazing photographs I've ever taken. And this is it. And to make sure you really get it, because I can hear that you're not really seeing what it's all about, it's about that. It's the most amazing thing I've ever photographed. Okay, you're not really impressed. We will get back to that. A few weeks before that, I was in Sedona. And there I took this picture. Now this is more like it. And I can guarantee you, I looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and it is as real as it can get. Let's have a closer look. It cannot get any realer than this. I know it's out of focus, but I can do something about it. There, it's in focus, and it is real. Or not. If I show you the next picture, you will agree with me that you cannot get a realer thing than that. This is it. Now, how is it that you didn't see that? That is because you did not see the whole picture. You did not see the context. You just saw this little thing sitting in the air and thought, what is that? But now you know. And if you ever get there, it's in Sedona. It's here at the Red Planet Diner. It's one of the places when I'm in Sedona, you can find me there regularly because I'm many times very late for my meals, and you still can get in there, can have meals, and can have good drinks there as well. So if you get in, this guy will greet you there, and these guys on the ceiling will greet you, but what's really amazing are the tables. Because the tables are laid in with pictures of crop circles. And it's because of Sean Randall who took care of that this is actually true. And a few months ago, I was sitting at the bar having margaritas. That happens in Sedona. Here I was sitting and I was looking at this crop circle, and I had really warm feelings because in 1997, I've been in that crop circle at Silbury Hill. And while I was staring at it and going through memory lane, I noticed this little text there saying this, and I will have it clearer for you here. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Arthur Schopenhauer. Brilliant, really brilliant, because it's so true. And if you combine it with one of my other favorites, this one, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscape, but in seeing with new eyes, then you know it's not that the world has to change. No, not at all. You have to change. Because you make the world limited. All the limitations you see are not out there, they're all in you. And what I'm going to try to do with you today is, can I open you up? Can I let you look at the world with completely different eyes? Because if I'm able to do that, the world will be different. The world is not going to change if we are not going to look differently at the world. So let's have a look. Let's start with this guy, Richard Wagner. He had an idea about 130 years ago for an opera. And he called that opera Siegfried's Tod. And the idea was as following. He had a hero. In the end of the opera, the hero gets killed. And in the moment he wants to go to heaven, he can't. Because the heavens are on fire and all the gods are burning away. Brilliant. Yeah, that's what Wagner thought. But he also noticed that even though it was brilliant, nobody would get it, how brilliant it was. Because they could not see the big picture. So in all his wisdom, Wagner thought, you know what, I have to write another opera that goes actually ahead of this one. He did, and he called it Der junge Siegfried, the young Siegfried. And still he was sure, if people are going to listen to this, they won't get it. So he wrote another one, Die Walküre, Die Valkyrie. And still he thought, that's not enough, they're still not going to get it. I need more introduction. So he did Das Rheingold. And that was the moment that he thought, now it's done. I just have to change the names around a little bit. So the junge Siegfried I will make Siegfried, and Siegfried's Tod I will make Götterdämmerung, the twilights of the god. And that was it. With that he has written Der Ring des Nibelungen, the Ring of the Nibelungs. And it's a brilliant story if you go through whole the story. And it's the same with the crop circles. I can show you this, and you will say, what is that, Bert? You won't see it because I have to tell you first about that. And before that, I have to tell you about that. And then I have to tell you about that. Because else you won't understand it. First I have to tell you about that. And before that, about that. And it all starts in 1994. So let's start in this really amazing journey and adventure and see where it ends. Here, this is my first crop circle I ever saw. 1994, I'd read it in the newspaper. Huge big circle. I raced out. It didn't say where it was. I drove. And in the end, I did find this thing. Really small, actually. Really disappointing. Let me show you. There's a big circle with 4 small circles. Here I am. I hardly just fit in it. It's so small. So I was actually, to be honest, a little bit disappointed. This is a photo of it, and this is the diagram. But the whole thing triggered enough in me to go to England. So I did. In 1995, I found myself in England, and this was the very first crop circle I ever saw in England. Amazing, because it's so close to the theorem of Pythagoras. And my background is mathematics. So I thought, wow, that's amazing, this phenomenon. It's all mathematics. I have to study this. And there it went wrong. Because I studied it, I did everything you can do, bend notes, blow notes, dead flies, white powders, geometry, wrote books about it. I did the whole thing. And then came a year, somewhere in 2007, I thought, you know what, this is it. I go home, never be back. 2007. Sure enough, this crop circle happens. And I thought, that's really amazing. Because this is an arrow, and it points somewhere. It points to the white horse. But not that only. For me, it went further. And this was the first step for a much, much bigger picture. And it taught me that lesson that even though I thought I'd seen it all, there was so much more to discover. Because this was pointing to that spot there. That is this spot. And have a look. There's Avebury, there's Silbury Hill, there's a Long Barrow, there's a sanctuary. And there is nothing. But it's so important spot of nothingness. Because when I read this book of David Furlong, who discovers this feature, I was blown away. He showed in his book, The Keys to the Temple, that there are many churches in Wiltshire on a circle. And I was really, really flabbergasted by that, realizing that these churches are built on old pagan sites. So these circles are not a few hundred years old, they are thousands of years old. And you can say, yeah, but that is, but you take a few churches and you put a circle there, that can do everybody. But guess what? There's a second circle, identical size. Also with all these churches on it. 2 huge circles in the landscape. And suddenly a world opened up to me. I thought, how is this possible? How did we miss this? How is it that we did not see through all these crop circles that there are huge circles in the landscape? And when you look at it, it's not a Vesica Pisces. You can make a Vesica Pisces with adding 2 circles, and now it starts. Because if you do that, you get that shape. And when I saw that, I thought, hallelujah. Why? Because I immediately recognized it. Of course, this is the Great Pyramid. It's sitting in the landscape. Imagine that. Did these people from Wiltshire go to Egypt thinking, colossal, but you know what? We'll make that in the landscape. Or was it the other way around? The Egyptians came to Wiltshire thinking, boring, 3D, you want to see that. Let's make that. And they made that in Egypt. Or did they never meet? And that, of course, is really spectacular. Because how is it possible that two groups of people got intrigued by the same phenomena? Because it's not just a triangle, and the pyramid is not just a pyramid. No, the angle is 51 degrees on great purpose done so. Because only with that angle, something is possible. And it was done on great purpose to make this possible. Let me have a look here. This is the Great Pyramid. What you can do is put a glass dome over it. It will look like that. So half the dome is under the ground, half the dome is over the ground. If you fly over it, it looks like that. Can you follow that? This is it where actually the Egyptians were after. Because what you have now is a circle and a square of the same perimeter or circumference. If you walk the square, you walk the same distance as the circle. They did that on great purpose. Strange enough, that what's called squaring the circle cannot be found anywhere in nature. It's nowhere. It's somewhere a human construct. You can look everywhere in nature, you won't find it. The only place I know of is Earth and the moon. When you stack them on top of each other, then actually you get square in the circles. And the only other place is in crop circles. It's amazing. So there is a great pyramid in the landscape that defines square in the circle that you cannot find anywhere. And there suddenly in all these crop circles, you will find square in the circle. And I want to share one with you. One out of 1996. It's this one. The Sun and the Moon crop circle, Liddington Castle. Many people thought, cute, very nice. 1996, we had, of course, the Julia set and that was really important. This was just a little one. But if you look at this is most amazing. I will show that. I will show you the geometry behind this Sun and Moon crop circle. Here, squaring the circle. Blue square, red circle. Look, these green little circles fit here, center there, fit there. It's no big mystery to add two other circles that fit like that. If you take now these first two circles and you put them on a diagonal, that will look like that. And now you're already nearly done. This in totality is the Sun and the Moon crop circle. Brilliant, so brilliant. How is it that it took me 14 years to see it? I bet nobody else has seen it so far. And this is the thing. Somehow we stare and stare and stare. And all the information is there, but we don't see it. And after the years, that crop circle has never changed. It's just my perception of the crop circle that changed. My looking at it. And that's what it's all about. When you look in a different way, you will see a different story. Even though the shapes themselves stay the same. 1994, my first one, it took me another 14 years after that to recognize that not only had this a big circle and four little circles around it, no, a square fitted. Wow, 14 years it took me to realize that that square fitted there. Now I realized that this is a little bit squeezing there, but guess what? This circle does not. And this is exactly squaring the circle. 14 years, the tiny crop circle was shouting in my face, Bert, wake up, see it, open your eyes. Of course not, didn't do that. But what to make of that? What to make of squaring the circles? What can we do with it? When I was in Sedona, I did a big conference there, and Craig Braden was there as well. And he was showing this diagram. And he was talking about something completely different. This is the center of the Aztec sun disk. And he was saying, this is really interesting because these four squares you see there are actually the four big cycles of time gone by. The four worlds that have passed already. And the center circle, that is the world or the timeline we are in now. And that's about to end in 2012. And he was blah, blah, blah going on his story. And while I was sitting in the audience, I thought, that is really amazing. Can it be that there is a link between this 2012 event with four squares and a circle? Can be that square and the circle has everything to do with 2012. It stayed in my mind, but lucky enough, the Aztec sun disk, a few weeks later, I was in Mexico. I was in the land of the Aztecs, and I was lucky enough to go here to Teotihuacan and see this pyramid. And this is the Sun Pyramid. And if you stand on it, you can see the Moon Pyramid. And if you stand on the Moon Pyramid, you can see, I think this is called the Alley of the Death or something, or the Dead. But there's the Moon Pyramid again, or the Sun. And continuously this was going on, Sun, Moon, Sun, Moon. And while I was contemplating on that, I came aware of a story so big that I want to share with you. It's an amazing story that some of you likely know already. I had no idea. It's the story of Juan Diego. And Juan Diego lived in 1500, so much. And the story happened in 1531. It's the 9th of December. Juan Diego, who's actually a native Indian, already Christianized now, that's why he's Juan Diego, he was a Nahuatl Indian, goes every day to church early in the morning, and he walks by this little hill in Tepeyac. Now the hill didn't look in 1531 like that, it looked more like that. So in 1531, there is Juan going for his morning walk, and suddenly he realized all these birds singing, and they're singing in harmony, and he thinks, that's really odd. They're singing exactly the same song. And while he was thinking that, poof, out of nowhere came a woman and stood in front of him and said to him, dear little son, I love you, I want you to know who I am. And now it comes. I am the Mother of God. Now, isn't that amazing? I always thought that God was the highest. But no, there suddenly is the Mother. It's an amazing feature. I am the Mother of God. I am the Mother of who gives life. The Mother of the Lord and Creator of heaven and earth. Yeah, sure, it's our God she's talking about. But she is seemingly the Mother. And then she goes on that I decided to build a temple here. Blah, 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 blah. Do it. Yeah, and Juan is standing there thinking, yeah, what to do now? I can go to this bishop, and this bishop will look at me and think, yeah, who are you? And so he did actually. He went to the bishop, and the bishop said, who are you? I said, I'm Juan Diego, and this is my message. And the bishop looked at him and said, yeah, you're a nice guy, but please go home again. So he did. He went home. The next day, he goes by that hill again, and poof, there's this woman again. Juan, where's my temple? How are things standing? Yeah, that's a little problem. Juan, go to this bishop. Do it for me. I have chosen you. So yes, he goes back to this bishop again. The bishop says, oh no, there he is again. Persistent little guy. So he says, Juan, I'm willing to listen to you and to do something with your story if you can prove it to me. If you can come with proof, then yes. So Juan goes home and thinks, how can I prove this? Now the next day, his uncle, he lives with his uncle in his house, is suddenly really ill. He cannot go out, Juan. He has to stay home. The day after that, it's now the 12th of December. His uncle is so ill that he has to go and get a priest. And you think, no, that cannot happen, because then I have to go by that hill, and that lady will jump again. So he's smart enough to take the northern route. He's not going the south route, the northern route. He's halfway, boop, there she is. Juan, where is it? So Juan tells about the proof and that. So she said, Juan, there's no problem. Go up the hill, pick the roses there, and bring them to the bishop. Roses? It's the 12th of December. There are no roses. Juan, up big. So, okay, Juan goes up the hill, and sure enough, there's all these roses. And so he picks these roses, brings them down. She's still waiting there. She looks at it and said, that's really perfect. Give me your tilma. That's a kind of mantle he had on, made of cactus fiber. She rolls all the roses in this tilma. Said, give that to the bishop. So off Juan goes, and yes, the bishop says, come in, you have seemingly proof, show it to me. So there's Juan, he has his tilma, he rolls it out, and the bishop, and Juan thinks, oh, that's a little overdone actually. That's just roses. And all the people behind the bishop go also on their knees, and and Juan thinks, what's going on? So he looks at his tilma, and there it is. On the inside of his tilma is an image. And this is the image. It's amazing because it's still there. That image is still there. It was somehow imprinted in his cape, his tilma, that's made of cactus fiber. that usually breaks down after 15 years. Now, nearly 500 years later, that tilma is still there. You can go to Mexico and see this thing. It's physically there. But while this all happened, here it is, there you see it hanging there. Up there it is. That's seemingly the real one. It can be that's actually in a real vault somewhere. But while it all happened, and Juan was at the bishop, the woman went to his uncle and said, "You're not going to die today, but I want you to know who I am. Call me and my image Our Lady of Guadalupe." And so they did. And since that time, there's this huge, huge place now in Mexico where you can go, you can worship this. And sure enough, the bishop did build actually the little temple. There is the temple. And it's there. It's an amazing story. And that story is completely connected to what's going on here. And I will show you that later. Let's first go back here. Let's first go back to Wiltshire, to where we are now, to this situation of this pyramid in the landscape where we have no explanation for. Let's have a look at this place there, the King's Chamber. Because when I would go now to Egypt, that's the place you want to go. So what is in the landscape under the King's Chamber? It is Temple Farm. So Temple Farm, that is now somewhere north of Marlborough, is exactly in the King's Chamber in this virtual pyramid. Now, how did it come about? Temple Farm is named after the Knights Templar. When they came from France to England, they got all this land and started in Rockley, their first stronghold, which is now called Temple Farm. And the first pieces of land were given by a Count de Beauchamp. And I got really intrigued by this guy. How is he? Who is he? What is he? I have to figure this out. Good enough for me, there's a little village called Compton Beauchamp. It still exists. And here you see the wells of the Knights Templar. Here you see the house of Compton Beauchamp. It's a newer house, but this is the place where the Count de Beauchamp used to live. And I'm really intrigued by it because next door is this little church. And that church, if you see, it's built under a really strange angle. It's not north, south, east, west, or whatever. No, it's under this angle, which makes it really special because if you look from a bigger distance, you see this. There's the church, and that line exactly parallels these lines and goes through that intersection. It has to be true that that church is connected to the landscape. This Compton Beauchamp guy who gave that land to the Knights Templar knew exactly what he was doing. There has to be a huge connection. And if you go inside the church, you will see this. And the most important part in the church is here on the right, because there is a door that's locked. And that's always a good sign. Yeah, when the doors are not locked, you just walk in, everybody has done that and nobody has found anything. No, it's the locked doors, of course, where there's some... The good thing is, they're made actually of kind of bars, wooden bars, so you can look in. And if you look in, you will see this picture. And I ask you to look at it, if the eyes are open or closed. Just have a look at it and see for yourself, is he looking at you or not? It's an amazing feature because it tells everything about where you are. The picture is not changing while you look. The only person that's changing is you. And it's your perception, it's how you look at the world. I find this really, really remarkable. But back to these guys, back to the Knights Templar, because the Knights Templar not only had a stronghold here in Wiltshire, they were also responsible for all the great Gothic cathedrals. Amiens, Reims, but not this one. In a way, they were responsible for it. This is, which one is this? 3, 2, 1. It is Chartres, of course. Chartres, strangely enough, we have no idea who built it. So do realize this. It's 1194. The church is burned down. It has to be rebuilt. And they have to find somebody who can do that. And they find him within 3 weeks, an architect who can build a thing like that. But they do not write down who it is. 25 years they're slaving away to get it all done. The architect is on the premises for 25 years, but there's not one snippet of paper where his name is written down. We have no idea who built Chartres. From all the cathedrals we know the architect, not from Chartres. Wow, that's something I've heard before. Where did I hear that before? Oh, yeah, here. We have no clue who makes this. There's no difference actually between these things in the field and this thing standing there. Chartres is perhaps permanent and the crop circles are perhaps temporary, but they are identical. And if you go into Chartres, you will see that, which of course is the same as that. And you will see that, which is the same as that. There's no difference between that, or that and that, or that and that. There is no difference. It's all the same. But you have to see it. You have to open your eyes for it. And I was just into that. I was just opening my eyes when I found myself here. This is the Cathedral of Aachen. And there, built by Charlemagne in 800, is the Octagon. A really, really nice building. Really intriguing, mysterious building. I stepped in that building and whoa! First thing I see. Not for you, I see. It's okay. Let's go back to my little crop circle. You know, that really disappointing little thing? Let's have a look. Here, diagram, you know, square in the circle. But guess what? Square in the circle is possible because of these little circles. But if these circles would have been smaller or bigger or placed differently, like smaller here or bigger there or placed differently, it always would have fitted. Because the only thing the circles do is keep the circle, the red circle, in place. But guess what? No, they're exactly sitting there and they're exactly of that size. And that's the only position and the only size that makes this possible. A rectangle that on one side you have the square and on the other side you have the circle. And if you do it a little smarter, this egg or oval is the most basic way to actually describe square in the circle. You cannot do it more basic than this. And now you know, when I stepped in the octagon, I thought, because I saw it there. Sure enough, it's there. They're squaring the circle in the floor of the octagon, here. And to make sure you get it, and that's not a free coincidence, it's there one more time. And that really intrigued me, because that whole building was called the Octagon, but somehow I thought, this Charlemagne, that is a smart guy. Let's have a look at this building. This is the floor plan. I tried, of course, to reconstruct that. With my mathematical mind, I made perfect eightfold geometry, fitted it in. No, it did not fit. It's not perfect eightfold geometry. And then I had this really brilliant moment to think, you know what? Let's put squaring the circle over this geometry. You see, the blue squares are completely locked into the eightfold geometry of the octagon. The red circle is actually squaring the circle. You see, the geometry does not fit, but I can make it fit by stretching these rectangles. Hock. And you get this. Now, when you put this over the blueprint, guess what? It fits perfectly. The octagon is built on the basis of squaring the circle. Nobody has ever seen that yet. I find that really amazing. That somehow this Charlemagne knew that is a really important concept. Was he the only one? No, he was not the only one. Here you have it as well. Look, there's a square with white lines on it, and to make sure that you get it again, here it fits again. And then a third time. You cannot really miss it. And where is this? 3, 2, 1. It's the St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. The whole square, designed by Bernini, is based on squaring the circle. Dan Brown missed that one completely. Yeah, it's true. Bernini mystery, it's called in Holland. Is that the only place? Is it only in old buildings where you find it? No, it's also in very modern buildings. This building, for instance, this is where? 3, 2, 1. CERN. It's in Switzerland, in Geneva. It's the place where they have this huge, large hadron collider, where they have these little subatomic particles. They try to interact with each other to have some black hole going on. That is the science center. And when I looked at the science center, I thought, it cannot be true, even here. Look, it's that simple. The inner core and the outer mantle form squaring the circle in a very, very nice way. And again, to make sure you're not going to miss this, there's this sign, Square Galileo Galilei. Now that doesn't make sense at all, because it's in Geneva. They speak French there. And even to make that clear, here you see it. Aimant d'épaule supraconducteur. That should not have been Square Galileo Galilei, but Place Galileo Galilei. But it's not. It's square. And if you look at it, if you open your eyes, you will see why. Because if you look at it, you will see this. Square, Galileo, Galilei. Square, the circle, and the straight lines. Wow, you have to be blind not to see that. It's true. Okay, let's go back to Wiltshire. Let's go back to this little church. Remember, I was there last year, 12th of August. That's about a year ago. I went in, looked at that thing, but my real attention was this time caught by the window there, by this depiction. And somehow I stared at it, I thought, it's telling me something. Until the moment I realized there are 12 stars in the crown. And it was the 12th of August. I thought, that's a strange coincidence that I get drawn to this now while it's the 12th. And why is that crown there with the star? What do I have to do with that? And it took a while, and suddenly I realized, yes, Compton-Beauchamp, 1 mile down the road is Uffington. It's the White Horse of Uffington. There, the crown in the landscape. It has to be. This is the crown. I have to go there. So the 12th of August last year, I rushed up that hill, went up, looked better, and saw nothing. And I was really disappointed because I thought, this cannot be true. It cannot be true. I have to trust myself. There has to be something there. The field I was looking at is this field. Had already a crop circle in it, sitting there. And that I thought, yeah, this is a crop circle. There has to be more to it. So I had the courage to follow my intuition, to go actually into this field and see if there was anything more. Sure enough, there it is. Here is the old one. There is that. So I was lucky enough at the 12th of August to walk through this. There's my wife Heather, and you can see how big it is. Now this is a pole from 6 meters high. And even then you cannot really make out what you walked through. It's massive, it's really big, but what is it? What do I see? It's only that evening when I saw the photograph that I realized, oh no, this cannot be true. Because I have seen this before. I know this. Where did I see that? Of course, there, in Chartres. It's the window, the west window of Chartres. It's so obvious. It becomes really obvious if you take the diagram and you put the diagram on the window. And if you do it from the inside, you even can see it better. Look here. The crop circle and the window is one thing. There's only one shape, actually. The window and the crop circle are the same. Now, everybody knows Chartres because of the labyrinth. And everybody who's been there has walked the labyrinth, tick, 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 tick. But they've quite likely missed this. This little sign saying the Chartres labyrinth is placed at an important point in the cathedral's geometry. If the west facade were laid up at the floor, the center of the west rows representing Christ Jesus would correspond with the center of the labyrinth. With other words, if you take the wall with the window in it and you put that down, it will exactly fit over the labyrinth. Or, with other words, if you walk the labyrinth, you're actually walking the window. There's no difference between that window and the labyrinth. You walk through the different stages. But since there's a relationship between this window and the crop circle, it has to be that when you walk this crop circle, you walk the labyrinth of Chartres. And you do. And it's not only this crop circle, this is obvious, but many crop circles, when you walk through it, you walk the same thing as the Chartres labyrinth. And there it is sitting. And I could have known it, because this thing was already there. And this is, of course, a labyrinth, which is also in Chartres. Now you can say, Bert, yeah, but that is a completely different labyrinth. Doesn't even resemble it. Walk round the church the next time when you're in Chartres. Behind it, you will see that. And that is very identical to that. The relationship is really there. It's undeniable. Somehow it's all connected to each other. Somehow it's one big picture. I could have known it because the 12th of June was the date that the first crop circle came down, and the 12th of June was the date that they rebuilt Chartres Cathedral. It's just when you see it, suddenly you open up to the bigger picture. Yes, there's a huge window in Chartres, really world famous. Yes, there's also a labyrinth, but most important, there's a locked door. And if you ever go there, try that door. Now, last time I was there, I was lucky the door was open so I could go in. If you go in, you go to the high altar. And that's, of course, really important. But what is of the utmost importance is, zoop, go down. Go to the crypt. Try, if you're there, to go to the crypt. When I went to the crypt, I saw first this guy. Oh, that's interesting. So, then I saw this. Thought, wow, how is this possible? There, the sun and the moon, but especially that thing there. When you look at it, I had seen that. It's a hand reaching out to us, helping us, reaching out to what? That object. I know it. I had seen it before. Here, it is identical. At Avery, 1994, the same thing. Something is reaching out, but somehow we don't cop on. We don't see it. We miss it, that it's actually reaching out for us. And we could have known it already, because in Winterborn Mountain is this painting, and there is Jesus standing. Okay, guys, the next time I will be back in the crop. These guys cannot believe that. One is smelling it from the crop. That cannot be true. How is that going to look like? But it's true. And this whole story started with this. When I walked in the church and saw this. So I had to go back. I had to go back to this church and look at this window again. And when I did that, when I looked at the window again, I was in shock. This is the window. I couldn't believe it. Because this is identical to that. It's the identical depiction. Even the crescent moon, what you see here, is also in the window. And the sun behind. Somewhere there's this huge relationship. But what to make of that? What to make of Our Lady of Guadalupe? Realize that Juan Diego, he was a native Nahuatl Indian. And likely she spoke in Nahuatl to Juan Diego. And even though we now think that she said Guadalupe, she likely said Guadalupe. Now, I cannot even make the difference, but the words are totally different. This is Nahuatl, and it means in Nahuatl, she who stands on the serpent. Now, when I read that, I thought, that I have seen that somewhere. I have seen that in churches. I've seen that here. Can you see it all? There it is, standing on the serpent. For those who ever go to Glastonbury, there, you can see this one in St. Paul's Church in Glastonbury, this photo. Or this one here. Standing on the serpent. What to make of that? What is the message of this standing on the serpent? What do we have to make of that? Let's go back to Tepeyac. Let's go back to this little church that was built there. When you go there are two guardians, St. Michael and St. Gabriel are standing there. And when you go in, you see this. And when I went in and saw this, I was in shock. Because what you see there is a modern depiction, a modern copy of the original. Really modern. Looks like this. While the original looks like that. Now, why not make a copy of the original? Why have this cute one? Looks beautiful. Until I realized, of course, what they try to do here is throw me off my path. They try actually to blind me. And I noticed that because if you see here that little amulet that's around her neck, here you see it. That is so clear, a Christian cross. But if you look at the original, you will see that cross. And that's the cross of the Cathars. That's a well-known cross of the Cathars, later on adapted also by the Knights Templar. So somehow her background was not rooted in Christianity. No, they want you to believe that. But the background is actually rooted in the belief system of the Cathars. And that is based on what we now know about the Nag Hammadi library. Nag Hammadi library are really old rolls that have been found in the same time as the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're about the same age, only these are found at Nag Hammadi. The Dead Sea Scrolls went to the Vatican. These went to the public domain. So you guys can read them. And the story is fascinating because I will do it really briefly. Yes, there is our God. But guess what? Their story goes beyond that. Actually, it starts earlier. It starts with this one source, whatever it is, that creates 12 virtues. That's all okay. One of the virtues is Sophia. And she thinks, you know what? What he can do, I can do as well. So let's create something. So she does. And what she creates, when she looks at it, she sees, oh, it's a monster. I have created a monster. Let's hide it. So she hides the monster away. Think, oh, narrow escape there. But the monster standing on one side of the wall, looking over at his mother, thinks, that is fine light. I want it as well. Steals that light from his mother. Then looks around again and thinks, oh, Paul, boring is here. Complete empty. Let's make some friends. So he creates the argons. They look at each other thinking, it's still pretty boring here, actually. There's nothing going on here. So you know what? Let's create something really big, a playground. And Yaldabaoth creates heaven and earth, and all the planets in the whole universe, and all the universes. So, for the Gnostics, it's actually not that Yaldabaoth is the highest. No, there's a higher. He has a mother. And the mother has created the monster. So for the Cathars, the God, the traditional God of the Old Testament, was a really bad guy. And the bad guy did really bad things. He looked over the wall again and thought, oh, wow, what do I see there? Is that some kind of perfected being? That I want as well, because I'm incredibly jealous. I want it all. So let's make that. Pop, pop, pop. He makes a doll. And Sophia looks at him and thinks, this is my chance. If I tell Yaldabaoth to blow the divine light in that doll, he will lose his powers and we can arrest him. So she tells him, he thinks, oh, that's a good idea, let's do that. He blows it in the nostrils of the doll. And the doll comes to alive, becomes a living soul. And he calls the doll Adam. And there we are, trapped the divine light in the creature of Yaldabaoth. And this is a real bad situation for the Cathars and the Templars. Because we somehow, humanity, cannot see that. We don't see anymore that we are trapped. But no problem. There is the Mother of God. She comes back and says, I'm the Mother of God and I will help you. I'm Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm actually who stands on the serpent, or even better, who builds on the serpent. And that is exactly what happened. Sophia was smart enough to send a messenger to us, to see it. Wake up and see what has happened. You are trapped and you want to get out of that. She sends a serpent. That's really amazing that Graham was talking about all these serpents we see the whole time when we go in ayahuasca and all these other plant medicines. But the serpent in the Old Testament for the Cathars was a really, really good messenger, telling us, wake up, open your eyes, see how it is. And we thought, oh no, we cannot really do that. And we kicked out of the paradise. And sure enough, that happened. We were kicked out and there we were. So Sophia could do only one thing, send a new messenger. There he is. She builds on the serpent and there is a new messenger. It is, of course, Jesus, who is telling us, wake up and see, it's all in you. But guess what? We nailed him to the cross. Click, 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 click. Just before that happened, he could tell us the next time it will be in the crop. So for the Cathars, the third messenger is actually there. It's there in the crop. You just have to see it. If you open your eyes to it, you will see that that's what's going on. Now, what can we do with that? What is the messenger telling us? For that, we have to go to Salisbury. When we go to this church, St. Thomas Church, you will find this situation. It's a really old piece of tapestry hanging on the wall where you see St. Gabriel telling Mary, sorry girl, it has happened. Actually, he's telling her, you will get a child and yet no pleasure of it at all. But yeah, that's how that goes. That's actually depicted many, many times. And every time when you see it, it's always with a French lily and a little dove. Here, there again, the lily and the dove. That situation is done over and over again. Lily's dove. Here, lily's dove. It doesn't stop. It's every time the same thing. The lily and the dove. Sometimes it's really stylized. You see it here. Here you see the lily and here you see the doves. Or even here, even more stylized. Here the lily, there the dove in ivory. You just have to open your eyes for it and you will see that. Now what can we do with that? What does it mean? When I was in the church I thought it has to be so close now. It has to be. Because if I can figure out what it exactly means, I will figure out the meaning of this here on the right. Because at the same tapestry, you see this little Kai flying on a disc, on a carpet, I don't know. But one thing is for sure, he's elevated from the ground. He's perhaps enlightened. I don't know. But this French lily and that are really close connected. Guess what? Lucky thing is, if you ever go to the church, just walk around the corner and you will find this. Hallelujah, the solution. So obvious. Here it is. Of course. Look at it. Here you see the French lily. And of course it's not the French lily at all. It's this. Or even better, it's that. Still not? It's okay. It's this. It's the Ida and the Binkala. It's actually the two serpents that winds around your spine, that activates the Kundalini. That is where the alignment is all about. Every time when you have seen this depiction of the lily, what you actually look at is this situation of the two serpents and this dove here above. The Ida and the Binkala. Where had I seen that? Here. I had seen here the Ida and there the Binkala. And where is that? 3, 2, 1. It is in Shatra, of course. And is that the only place where you can see it? No. Let's go back to Tepeyac. When you ever go to this little temple, here is the entrance. Look at the left, there. A huge sun is laughing at you. Look at the right, there. A huge moon. And now go inside, and to make really sure you're not going to miss it, they have built this. A really, really life-size shop window from sun. And opposite of him is this. Moon. It's very hard to miss this one. But what to make of it? What to make of this sun and the moon? We have to look at this situation again, and especially at these two guys standing there. Here, St. Michael, there, St. Gabriel. He has something with a dragon here. He is pointing up with his little lilies there. To really understand what was going on, we go back to this church in Salisbury. Because not only is that there in the floor, you will also find this window. And now you've seen the whole story and you come there, you say, oh, obvious. That window is identical to that. Look at it. Look at the situation here. See what's happening here on the left and see what's happening on the right. And look now there. It is identical. On the left, it's the dragon. We call him now St. George. But the only thing that happens there is the dragon is not even dead. It's that matter is actually being mastered. And once you do that, you can master matter, you can get in this situation, you can ignite a fire, and you can go up and look there. You will be enlightened. You will go to a higher stage. And that is continuously actually shown to us, but we don't see it. We keep on missing that point. Here, you see it in Avebury. But this is identical to that. Even the Egyptians, with their 3D pyramid, had already figured this out. And what is really amazing is what they have on their heads. Look here on the left. That resembled for me so much mathematics, so much Pythagoras. It resembled so much that for me. And look at the other side. That one, of course, is this. There's not so much difference actually. You just have to look at it. You will see it's all there. But you have to wake up to it. You have to open your eyes to it to see the bigger picture. And yes, it can be, once we have understood how we have to put square and the circle together, how we have to fuse the sun and the moon, that we can do that we can go to the higher state. And it can be that in 2012, it's all going to happen. It's not going to happen because it's predicted. No, it's going to happen because we make it happen. We do that. We take the initiative. We're not going to sit back for that. And yes, it will be that this thing, what you see here, will help us. Crop circles. They will make that final move possible for us. But we have to be open to that. And then we can reach that stage. And then, when we find ourselves then in a situation of Siegfried, that we die or make the transition, and the heavens are on fire, and all the gods are burning away, we say, ha, 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 ha. No problem for us, because we have discovered how to move on. We are not depending anymore on God, or on aliens, we're only depending on ourselves. And the crop circles are hugely helping us, and likely they are us. Let's go one time back to Mexico. One time. I met there this guy, Antonio Urzi. And Urzi is really an amazing guy. He films UFOs out of his little attic window in Italy. So there he is, little room, little window, open, camera out, all UFOs. So he was telling this story in Istanbul. And everybody said, yeah, Urzi, that's really good, all nice. But we're not in Italy here. Here we're in Istanbul. And Ursi said, no problem, no problem. Let's go outside. So they went outside, and there are all these lights in the sky. And he was telling this story in Mexico. And of course, we were all saying, Ursi, that's just really beautiful. But that was Istanbul. We are here in Mexico. And he said, no problem. Let's go outside. Have a look. And so we did. We looked up. We looked everywhere. Here, there. And sure enough, there it happened. And that is why this photo is the most amazing photo I've ever took. Because Ursi, what he did there, he created the world according to him. I'm not saying that actually he's opening portals, perhaps he did. But what he did for sure is he wanted that world to be there, that the lights were flying there. He went out and the lights were flying there. He created his own world. He had understood this. And the crop circles helping us with that. And yes, in the end, we can then come to this stage. But we have to do it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's up to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now it's up to you.